Sherry Elliott Pope, and welcome back to this art channel. I've recently changed the name of my art channel from Art on a Budget to How to Art, as How to Art better describes my channel as giving art instruction and painting demonstration, as well as passing on helpful money-saving tips and tricks. I have before you here a picture of a painting entitled Moonlit Marsh that was done by Ray Ellis. Ray Ellis lived from 1921 to 2013, and his paintings are in the permanent collections of the White House, museums, and private collections worldwide. In this painting, we're going to include elements that we've painted in other videos, the clouds, the trees, the moon and moonlight, the marsh grass, and the water. But we're going to include a new element of a ship in the distance. We have a big sky, which takes up, it appears to be slightly more than half of the picture. And then we have our marsh grass here, the ship here, the trees in the background, the clouds and the moon a little higher in the sky than we usually see it. And we have that moonlight coming down through the clouds and touching on the surface of the water here and extending to the marsh grasses. So let's get started. I've pre-primed the canvas with 2 coats of gesso, and I have applied an underpainting of light blue. Now I am measuring the canvas because our sky is slightly bigger than the bottom half of the picture, and so I'm going to measure that so that we have a idea of how far our sky comes down. Now we need to identify where the moon is located. And so I indicated where it is, so it gives me an idea of where the moon is. And as you have noticed, if you look up at the sky, the moonlight, the area around the moon is going to be lighter than the other places in the canvas. So I'm laying down that lighter color from the glow of the moon. And we'll come back and redraw that moon later. So the glow of the moon is going to be coming through the clouds, and it'll touch the surface of the water as well. Okay, let's start making those clouds. We're going to start with the base color, which is the dark part of the cloud. And we'll be alternating with different shades of blue, grays, white grays to help build up those clouds. I'm observing his painting and looking where he's placed lights and darks. And so I'm trying to imitate the placement of those lights and darks. And it just takes patience to go in and layer the colors and repaint certain areas, you know, basically doing the same motion with the same brush and just applying the colors as I see them. So our recordings aren't too long. I have speeded up this video, so I can't really paint this fast. It's nice to be able to record the video and then go back and do voiceovers. I'm working in the white grays now around where the moon area is going to be. And so I'm going to be bringing in those lighter clouds on the upper portion of the sky. It is good to alternate and work in different areas of the canvas. It helps you see better. I'm not sure why that is, but if you work in that one same area or that one same 2-inch circle, you'll lose perspective. So it's good to alternate on your canvas the area you're working on. I have a large 2-inch brush that's dry. It's just a brush from the hardware store. It's got really soft bristles on it. And I'm using this brush to help blend the clouds to kind of blur the lines. I'm continuing to work the area to create the effect I'm looking for, just a very ethereal look, and I'll know when I am able to look at it and have a sense of satisfaction that it's what I was looking for. We are referencing a painting by Ray Ellis, Moonlit Marsh. And Ray Ellis's paintings are hanging in the White House and museums throughout the world. And so I cannot duplicate what he did. He's a master painter, and I am not. But I am using his picture to reference, and I hope that I can achieve an effect that I can be happy with. There's a portion of a cloud going across the face of the moon, so I'm going to try to include that in our rendering. At the final phase of this painting, we're going to be drawing the sail ship in the background, and I have a cool trick to make your work a little easier there, so hang on into the recording so you can find a art hack for making sailboats in the distance. There are rays of moonlight that are peeking through the clouds, and so this is what I'm doing now. I'm laying the groundwork for that. So it appears that the rays from the moon are coming through the clouds and touching the surface of the water. The moon is a focal point in this painting. I think it's the first focal point that we see. And the way that he draws the eye to the moon is the contrast between the brightness of the moon and the dark clouds beneath it. So that draws the eye right into the painting. I'm reapplying some of the light white gray clouds because I kind of lost some of the lighter values during the blending I did earlier. Okay, after working the sky area for some time. I got the look that I'm happy with. I'm moving on now. I placed the masking tape at my horizon line so that I can have a nice even horizon line. And I'm going to start working on the lower half of the picture. So I've mixed a nice earth color for the base color for the land, and marking out those finger-like projections of marsh grasses that are extending into the water. And so I'm finding the placement for those. So the colors that are in the distance are going to be lighter and duller, should I say duller, not as vibrant as the colors that are in the foreground. So I've mixed that light color, and we're going to work from the light earth color to the darker colors that'll be in the foreground when we put our grasses in. And now I'm laying down the areas where the water is, and we're starting with a darker color. And as we lay the highlights down, we'll be working those into the darker color, and so the darker colors will pick up some of that white in it. The moon shining on that distant water is making that water appear very light blue or white. So we're laying that down on the distant water. And then the white is like a pathway leading to the foreground. We're blending the areas where the lighter colors and darker colors are coming together so that there's not an abrupt change from darker to lighter, but it's a gradual transition. I am laying down just white now on those areas where the moon is hitting the water in that path toward the marsh grass. I realized that I had painted over some of the marshland with the blue water color. So I came back in and added those areas of land back in. Okay, let's work in the foreground now, where that crop of trees is in the distance. And I've used hooker green, which is just a sap green, a yellow, it's a yellow green color. You can mix yourself if you don't have hooker green, or use whatever color suits your fancy. But the objective is to have the first areas that are closest to the moonlight to be light in color. And also you want to have the tops of those trees to have some highlights from the moon hitting it. And in the back area of the trees will be the darkest area. And then I've used a blue, green, and brown mixture to make the trunks of the trees. And I didn't want to use a stark black because it's in the distance. And we want our colors to be darker, to be duller in the distance. We're going to come back in with the filbert brush, and it's a frayed filbert, which works really well. You've seen me use it in other videos for grasses and leaves on trees. And so we're going to be covering up some of those branches with the green leaves. I'm using the same principle with the grasses in the background, where I'm taking the lighter colors at the front that would be influenced by the moonlight, and as we move away from the moonlight, then those areas get darker and muted. So as we work on the marsh areas that are closer to the foreground, the area where the land is touching the water is a darker color. It's a shade of black, and I'm using ivory black and raw sienna, I believe, combination there to make that land area darker. And then we're going to increase the upper soil areas to more vibrant browns and reds. So if you'll notice the original picture, that he has his very dark colors toward the furthest boundaries of the picture, especially on the right side of the picture. I'm not sure if it's the right or the left, but the side where the trees are on, we really get some very dark colors, black colors of the grasses and land area. Okay, we're coming in with the lighter colors now, and so we're going to have the very lightest colors on the furthest projections of the land because that area is being hit by the moonlight. And then we're going to have warm, vibrant browns and reds primarily. And then we're going to have in the very foreground the longer red grasses and black grasses. Let's start working on the other side of the painting now, the land area and the very back. We want that area to be the lightest color, and I'm sure it has grasses on it too, but it's so far off in the distance that you really can't see the individual grasses. It's just going to look like a mass. Okay, I've worked in the darker values that are closer to the water. I'm adding the longer red and black grasses that are in the foreground. As you paint these, remember that they're not standing perfectly straight up. They're very lightweight structures, and so they're going to be bending different directions dependent on the wind. Let's lay down that white highlights on the water. So this is white that we're using, and it's coming from the far ground where the moon is hitting most directly, and then continuing to come to a narrow path to the distant marsh. Once again, we are blending the edges of the white highlight and the blue water so that it's not an abrupt change in value. We are going to blend that. I've got the fan brush now, and we're going to paint some rays coming down from the moon. I have a filbert brush that is damp with just water. And so I'm kind of smoothing out that rays of the moon so that it's more subtle, to give it a more subtle look. This is the art hack I was telling you about for drawing the ship in this distance. What I did was I took 3 pieces of masking tape and I made the shape of a triangle. And so we're going to be drawing our sail ship in that triangle shape. So there are 2 sails, and there's a line, a mast, I think is what they're called, that's separating the two sails. And then there's just a rectangle shape, kind of like a cigar shape for the bottom of the sailboat. And the sails are a light blue-white. So because it's in the distance, we don't have to put a great lot of detail in there. We're just going to be indicating the shape, and it will communicate to the viewers that it's a sailboat. Let's add some white back in around where the sailboat is. And a few more finishing touches and we're done. I'm really happy with the results, and I hope you are as well. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.